Welcome to Understanding the MITRE ATT&CK Framework. Cyber attacks are often described as isolated events, a ransomware attack, a phishing email, a credential theft incident. But in reality, cyber intrusions behave more like biological systems. They spread through environments, they evolve through stages, they exhibit recognizable behavioral patterns, and this is exactly what the MITRE ATT&CK Framework attempts to classify. The MITRE ATT&CK Framework is essentially a taxonomy of adversary behavior. Much like epidemiologists classify disease by transmission, symptoms, progression, and impact, the attack framework classifies how adversaries operate inside digital environments. It organizes cyber attacks into observable behaviors, operational objectives, and attack methodologies. Understanding this framework changes how analysts think about cybersecurity. Instead of seeing isolated alerts, analysts begin to see behavioral patterns. The MITRE ATT&CK Framework is a knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques derived from real-world cyber operations. The word attack stands for adversarial tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. This is not antivirus software, it's not a prevention tool, it is a structured behavioral model. The MITRE ATT&CK Framework helps analysts understand how adversaries gain access, how they move through systems, how they evade defenses, how they maintain persistence, how they steal or destroy data. The framework focuses on behavior rather than malware names. Malware changes constantly. Behavioral patterns often do not. In biology, a taxonomy classifies living organisms based on shared characteristics. In epidemiology, diseases are classified based on transmission methods, symptoms, progression, severity, and affected systems. The MITRE ATT&CK Framework does something very similar for cyber operations. It classifies adversary behavior into categories called tactics and techniques. The tactics represent operational objectives. The techniques represent the specific behaviors used to accomplish those objectives. This creates a structured hierarchy of attack behavior. Instead of chaos, analysts see organized behavioral patterns. At the highest level are tactics. Tactics describe what the adversary is trying to accomplish during a stage of the intrusion. Examples include initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, exfiltration, and impact. These are not individual attacks, they are categories of operational intent. For example, credential access represents the objective of obtaining authentication material. Lateral movement represents the objective of moving through an environment. Exfiltration represents the objective of removing data from a system or network. This is similar to stages of disease progression. Different pathogens may behave differently, but they may share common operational phases. Under each tactic are techniques. Techniques are the observable methods adversaries use to achieve their objectives. For example, under credential access, techniques may include credential dumping, brute force attacks, key logging, and password spraying. Under defense evasion, we have process injection, obfuscated scripts, masquerading, and disabling security tools. These behaviors become observable through telemetry, and this is where detection engineering begins. Analysts monitor process creation, registry modifications, network connections, authentication events, command line activity, and parent-child process relationships. Instead of searching for bad files, analysts search for abnormal behavior patterns. The MITRE ATT&CK Framework becomes powerful when connected to telemetry. Tools like Sysmin, Windows security logs, WASA, SIEM platforms, and EDR systems allow analysts to observe behavioral evidence across systems. For example, a PowerShell process spawned by Microsoft Word may indicate malicious execution behavior. Repeated authentication failures across multiple accounts may indicate password spraying. An unexpected registry modification may indicate persistence establishment. Each event alone may appear insignificant, but together they form behavioral evidence. This is why detection engineering focuses heavily on context, correlation, behavior, sequence, and operational intent. Detection is not simply identifying malware. Detection is identifying adversary behavior within telemetry. The MITRE ATT&CK Framework helps organizations build detections, map coverage gaps, structure investigations, prioritize telemetry, simulate adversary behavior, and improve threat hunting. The MITRE ATT&CK Framework creates a common operational language between analysts, incident responders, threat hunters, engineers, and leadership. Instead of vague descriptions like something suspicious happened, analysts can describe tactics, techniques, behavioral sequences, affected systems, and operational objectives. This creates far greater analytical precision. The MITRE ATT&CK framework is more than a matrix of boxes. It's a behavioral taxonomy of cyber adversary operations. It transforms cybersecurity from isolated alerts into structured behavioral analysis. And much like epidemiology studies the spread and behavior of disease, cybersecurity analysts study the spread and behavior of adversarial activity across digital systems. Because in cybersecurity, understanding behavior is often more valuable than simply recognizing malware names.